All right. Is everybody ready?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Welcome to Unchained Disciples. We're on our third lesson on dealing with anger. Dealing with anger. So if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. We're going to be dealing with anger. We're in our series on seeking wholeness, dealing with anger. I'll start off by reading James chapter 1, verses 19 to 20. It says, "You know this, my beloved brothers and sisters. Now everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For a man's anger does not bring about the righteousness of God." So God instructs us to be slow to anger, that our anger doesn't bring about righteousness. So our anger brings about unrighteousness. Our anger can bring about sin. So this is our third lesson on anger. So we've saw that anger itself isn't a sin. So it's not a sin to be angry. God got angry. And anger can be useful. Anger warns us that there's a problem. Anger warns us that there's a problem. And actually today we're going to see that anger can actually help us grow in our relationships and help us grow in being more like Christ. And so we'll see how that can be, how anger can help us to grow, how we can use our anger to help us grow. All right, I know some people will be like, great, because I got a lot of growth potential then. All right, so we'll look at some myths, a few myths about anger. A few myths about anger. The first myth is that, well, I guess, let's see. So do men get angrier than women? Are men angrier than women? And so studies show that they aren't necessarily more angry. They're just angry over different things, and men express it differently. Men are more likely to show it aggressively, and women are more likely to show it indirectly. But of course, that's person to person as well. It's different. Let's see. So the older you are, do you get more angry as you get older?
Yeah, better. Some people get better, yeah.
People get bitter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they did a study and they found that the angriest people are 14-year-old boys.
Wow.
14-year-old boys are the angriest people. And as you go from 14, 22, your anger goes down through adulthood. But then once you get in your 50s and 60s, your anger starts to go up.
Again. Yeah.
But it doesn't reach the level of 14.
Why is that?
I don't know. I didn't. It was just kind of when I saw it, it was just kind of presented as a myth. So they didn't go into it. But a thought that I have that's not substantiated by anything, but would be that maybe that's when you get disillusioned. So around 14 or 15 is when you kind of realize, hey, before that it's like everything my parents say is right and correct, and I can just hold on to. I'll stop 14 to 15. You start to doubt everything, and so your world kind of falls apart. Then 50s and 60s, people start to get disillusioned with life and just start to all the things they hoped and dreamed about. Maybe all the things they believe, they start to doubt it, and people, like Eric said, maybe get bitter. Some people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That would be a thought. I may have to look into that. More. Or you can look into that and let us know. And then the third one is that myth is that anger always results from human conflict. And so that's not necessarily the case. Some people can get angry just from a bad odor or from pain, aches and pains that you have, or when it gets too hot. When it gets too hot, you can get angry. Or as, Pastor Gary mentioned a couple of weeks ago, getting hangry. Mm-hmm. Some people just get angry when they're hungry.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the outline for the lesson. Small outline today. That's the introduction. Then we're going to go through our traits of wholeness. We're going to review the first two lessons, dealing with anger, parts 1 and 2. And then we're going to talk about your anger can reveal your heart. Your anger can reveal your heart. And then we're going to look at 3 ways we express anger. So we're going to look at 3 ways that we express anger. In the first lesson, we looked at some ways we express it. So this is going to be looking at it from a different perspective. Different perspective. So I'll go over our traits of wholeness that we've been going through for this series. Seeking wholeness, traits of wholeness. We're in the Seeking Wholeness series. We're looking at how to be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. You know, we're dealing with life's stresses, current stresses, and also how to heal from the wounds of the past. We're not supposed to just have eternal life. We're supposed to have joy, peace, patience, and self-control. And a lot of Christians struggle with that. So the 30 traits that we've identified as goals, 30 traits that we've identified as letting you know that you're on your way to being whole, these are the 30 traits that we've identified that we're striving towards. It may be a lifelong journey, but these are the traits that we're striving towards. The first is authenticity. We want to be authentic. We want to be, what you see is what you get. We want to be honest. Kindness is a trait that we're seeking. Not seeking external approval or validation. I don't need others' approval in order for me to believe in myself, or God is enough. Living by values and principles. Setting boundaries. We want to set boundaries. Taking ownership of our responsibilities. Living with purpose and passion. So not just making it through life, but living with purpose and living with passion. Optimism. Confidence. Healthy relationships with others. Not losing control of your emotions. So having self-control. Being free from addictions. We want to address conflict. Don't just let it go. We want to address conflict, but we want to be vulnerable. Not critical and judgmental of others. Not jealous. We want to forgive those who've wronged us in the past. We want to really know in our hearts that we're worthy of receiving love. We want to not be afraid to fail. Able to manage our irrational fear, worry, and anxiety. We want to have selfless encounters with others, so not be selfish. We don't want to manipulate others and try to control their actions and their reactions. We want to be direct, we said, not trying to manipulate. We care about how others feel. We have empathy. We want to be patient. Not giving in to peer pressure or social pressure, even if that pressure is coming from the church. We can communicate directly. We don't take responsibility for other people's emotions, and we don't expect other people to take responsibility for our emotions. We've added in, we want to be slow to anger, and ultimately we want to be led by the Holy Spirit. So those are the traits of wholeness that we're striving for. Those are the traits that we're striving for. Welcome, Annabelle. Welcome, Annabelle. All right. Now I'll review anger, dealing with anger. Review what we went over the past 2 lessons, some of the highlights from there. Anger is part of the emotional family. Anger is part of an emotional family. We named 8 emotions, and the anger has other emotions that are related to it. Welcome, Patrice. Anger has related to it hostility, fury, irritability, annoyance, wrath, and rage. So these are all related emotions. They're all related. When you get angry, we go into fight or flight mode. So some people will fight, some people will flee, some people will freeze. So when you go into fight or flight mode, you're thinking, not thinking with your rational brain. You're thinking with your instinctive brain, and you release cortisol that prepares you for a threat. But it can be unhealthy if you're always in that mode. We have physical responses to anger. When we get angry, our shoulders may tighten up, our jaws may get locked up. You can get acid reflux. You may have panic attacks. Your heart starts beating faster. So there's different physical responses when we get angry. And there's also mental or cognitive impacts when we get angry. When you're angry, your world gets simplified. You're just thinking in black and white. You're not thinking about all the nuances of the situation. You just think black and white. Your doubt gets eliminated, so you lose your self-consciousness, so you're not really worried about what people think about you, and it makes you energized and focused. But in the same sense, it sort of dumbs you down, where your focus gets narrower. Your reality is perceived in limited ways. So you can't really see other people's point of view when you're angry. So you're seeing the world through a limited lens, and you're not thinking about the consequences. You're not thinking about long term. And so it can cause you to make poor decisions. Anger can cause you to make poor decisions. Anger has health implications. It can lead to heart disease. It weakens your immune system. Can lead to stroke. And that's not just explosive anger. That's not just people that yell and scream all the time. If you have anger and you suppress it and you don't show it outwardly, it also can lead to health problems. So just having the anger, whether you're showing it or not, then you can still have health problems. We talked about righteous anger. Righteous anger is a term that we talk about in church often. Righteous anger, we usually refer to it as when somebody's angry about an offense to God or an offense to the Bible, or being angry about what God is angry about. And we talk about how, righteous anger, we should have righteous anger, but in looking, I can't really find anywhere in the Bible where it tells us to have righteous anger. Nowhere does it tell us that anger is righteous. God talks about anger often in the Bible, but it's not saying righteous anger is focused on the cause of your anger. The cause of your anger. But God is more focused on three things. He's focused on how quickly you get angry. God is focused on how quickly you get angry. He's focused on how we express our anger. So when we're angry, what do we do? Be angry, but don't sin. How we express the anger, and how long we're angry. How long we're angry. Not so much as why we're angry. Not so much as why we're angry. So in Proverbs 14:29, he tells us to be slow to anger. 14:29 says, "One who is slow to anger has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered exalts foolishness." So there's multiple verses when it talks about quick temper or being angry leading to foolishness. So it tells us many cases to be slow to anger. Yeah. Be slow to anger. So it doesn't say never get angry. And it doesn't say blow up instantly. It says be slow to anger is what God commands us to do. And we see even God actually describes that as a characteristic of himself. When he appears to Moses in the rock, appears to Moses, he told him his name, and then he tells Moses about himself. And being slow to anger is one of the characteristics he gives of himself. Let's see, who has Exodus 34, verses 6 to 7?
I do, Michael.
All right, Silva.
Okay. So, and he passed in front of Moses, proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness.
Oh, and can you read verse 7 too? Let me add that.
Okay, and then maintaining love to thousands and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children for the sin of the fathers, for the third and fourth generation. Moses bowed to the ground at once and worshipped.
All right.
It was 6 or 7, right?
Yes, that's good. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So God describes himself as slow to anger. So God is slow to anger, so he doesn't describe himself as never getting angry. He describes himself as slow to anger. So he gets angry, and he says forgiving sins, but then he also says not leaving the guilty unpunished. Not leaving the guilty unpunished. So he's slow to anger, but he still executes judgment. So he's slow to anger, but he still executes judgment. But the thing is, when we try to talk about righteous anger, we often try to equate our actions or our judgment of another person as being righteous, but it tells us in Scripture that we're not supposed to judge. So God executes judgment because he is the one who's judging. So he's the one who's judging. So if God makes a judgment, God is determining what's righteous and what's not. But that's not our role. So God is slow to anger, and God is the one who executes judgment. Who has Ephesians 4:26?
That's me.
Or did anybody have any comments so far? No? Okay. Go ahead, Kikwa.
This is out of the NIV. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's it.
Oh, and one more. 27.
Yeah, do not give the devil a foothold.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in your anger, do not sin. So it's not saying don't be angry. There are some couple verses, so don't get angry. But it's saying in your anger. So it's saying when you're angry. So it's saying in your anger. So it's saying okay, I know you're going to be angry, but in your anger, don't sin. So it's concerned with how you respond to that anger. It's not as much concerned about why you're angry. It's saying in your anger, don't sin. But it's also saying don't let the sun go down on your anger or you'll give the devil a foothold. So if you stay angry too long, so it's not necessarily once the sun goes over the horizon that, it should have been gone by now. It's not a specific time or at 6 o'clock or something. It's just there's a time frame. If you've been angry for 3 months, for the person who spilled coffee on your new shoes, that's a problem. That's a problem. So there's a time frame where your anger can turn into unrighteousness. Your anger can turn into unforgiveness if you're angry for something in the past for too long. So God is concerned with how long you stay angry. He's concerned with how quickly you get angry. Welcome, Kenneth. And so continue with the review. And so then we looked at some anger management strategies. So did anyone use or have any thoughts of any of the anger management strategies we talked about last week? Or remember any of them? Let's start with that.
I was trying to memorize the verses, like when I'm getting angry. So that's what I've been trying to, remember. Anger's for fools. A soft answer turneth away anger.
Yeah.
And trying to memorize that. And like you said, the breaths, counting the, doing the breaths in and out.
Ah, yes. Anybody else use any of them or have used any of them in the past? I'm going to go over some of them. Okay, so some of the anger management techniques we looked at last week were, as Annabelle mentioned, memory verses. And so one of them was Proverbs 19:11. Who has that? Proverbs 19:11.
I have that one. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense.
Oh, okay. Person's wisdom. So mine says a person's discretion makes him slow to anger. But yes, to one's glory to overlook an offense. So it's talking about overlooking an offense versus getting angry. So so we had memory verses, 7 verses. So you can now look at the last lesson, 7 or 8 verses so one of the techniques was to memorize the memory verses and recite them to yourselves. Another technique that Annabelle mentioned was breathing. So we talked about a few breathing methods, maybe one taking deep breaths before you respond. Another was the box breathing. Breathe 4 out, hold it for 4, breathe in 4, hold it for 4. So you're breathing in through your nose, into your diaphragm, breathing out through your mouth. So to help calm you down. Another technique we talked about was developing canned responses. So if you know you have issues with anger, developing some response that you have, if there's certain topics that you know are going to anger you, like politics or whatever it is that triggers you, you can have certain responses, but the responses should be polite and respectful, not insulting and not dismissive. So one of them was, I don't discuss politics before 5 p.m. So have some canned responses for topics that you don't need to discuss because you're going to get into an issue. So canned responses. And then another technique was the broken record technique. So for example, if you have a canned response, but yet the person still wants to continue to try to talk about the topic, then the broken record is just to repeat the same response in the same way. I don't discuss politics before 5 p.m. Well, yeah, but did you see the stupid da-da-da? I don't discuss politics before 5 p.m. So like a broken record, and they'll get the point eventually that you don't discuss politics before 5 p.m. Another technique was different de-escalation statements. So we went over a few of them, but these are statements that if you're in the heat of it and you feel yourself getting heated, statements that you can say like, well, let's agree to disagree, or I need a timeout. So something that you can say in the heat of the moment to get yourself out of the discussion. Something else you can do is you can distract yourself. You can go take a walk, or apparently coloring is really good, helpful with that. Coloring. I was talking to a counselor, and she was saying, yes, coloring is really good for people. She counsels prisoners and stuff. Coloring apparently is good for anger. And then we talked about some life changes. One is exercise. And so we talked about exercising. And so one of the things that exercise does is some people, when they get angry, they get excess energy. So exercise, so somehow you have to let it out. So exercise is good with that. And it's just good with regulating that. Exercise is good with regulating a lot of mood issues, including anxiety, and exercise is good. Another life change was keeping track of your anger. So keeping a log, maybe 5 columns. You write the episode, what happened, intensity on a scale from 1 to 10, how intense was it? Duration, how long were you angry? Your response, how did you respond to the anger? And the trigger, what triggered you? So if you keep a track of it, then you'll better understand yourself and better understand your anger. So episode, intensity, duration, your response, and what triggered it. And the last thing we talked about was keeping a journal. So keeping a journal can be helpful in managing your anger. And so we'll be mentioning a couple more today. And apparently we'll be angry next week again as well. So we've got more anger coming the next lesson as well. Any thoughts on those anger management techniques?
The broken record really helps. Really helps. I use that a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'd seen it, but I never really consciously thought about it. I like that one.
I had a relative and a tenant. I had to just this week decide not to discuss politics with them. Period. Ever.
Ever at all. Huh?
Yeah, 2 people. Unfortunately, one is a relative, and I will discuss religion with them because they both are Christians.
Okay.
But no politics.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in 2020 we had to make that with a lot of people because everybody just got so offended, and just everybody had a strong opinion, such a strong opinion, and it just became heated. Many relationships were lost in 2020 because of politics.
Yeah.
And stances.
It kind of started in 2016, I think, in my life.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, 2016. I think it came to
Still some residual stuff that I get text messages and emails every once in a while reminding me of their political opinion. And so I will be, they don't know yet, but one of them knows, one of them doesn't, but I made that decision.
Okay.
And as far as anger is concerned, I get angry really quick lately. And the best thing for me to remember is Jesus Christ. What would Jesus do? That's the quickest thing to stop my anger and turn me around to the, type of person I want to be out there.
Yeah.
It's just think about what Jesus would do in that situation and try to invoke that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That's the fastest.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, change your mindset. Bring it to Jesus. What would Jesus do? Or even say a quick prayer. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
If nothing else, I have to stop for a second to think about what Jesus would do, and that pause is good.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that pause in itself gives you time to get out of just the reaction to think, to actually get into your thinking mind. Yeah, that's good. Any other thoughts? All right. So now we'll get into this week's lesson, which starts off with part of a review, but we'll get into this week's lesson. Your anger can reveal your heart. Your anger can reveal your heart. We're going to look at how your anger can teach you something about yourself. If you use your anger, you can use it to find out about yourself, and you can use it to change yourself to what you want to be, and it can help you grow in your Christ likeness if you study your anger. We'll start with who has Luke 6:45.
I do, Michael.
Okay.
Get over here. A good man produces good deeds from a good heart, and an evil man produces evil deeds from his hidden wickedness. Whatever is in the heart overflows into speech. So let me read that again. A good man produces good deeds from a good heart, and an evil man produces evil deeds from his hidden wickedness. Whatever is in the heart overflows into speech.
Whatever is in the heart overflows into speech. All right. So there was a quote from a gentleman. Some of you know Mr. Brian Loritz this week. He said, how we react is often a better thermometer of our hearts than how we act. How we react is often a better thermometer of our hearts than how we act. So basically, when a stimulus comes, something triggers you, how you act then is often a real indicator of what's in your heart.
Say that again, Mike.
How we react is often a better thermometer of our hearts than how we act. How we react is often a better thermometer of our hearts than how we act. All right, so last lesson, we talked about disordered love. Anger causes disordered love, and ironically, 4 weeks ago, Pastor Gary talked about it. Yeah. Anger causes disordered love. So disordered love, we talked about the fact that your anger might reveal what's in your heart. So if you think about the things that make you angry, so not every situation, but there may be some situations where you're angry is a response to something. So ask yourself, when you're angry, what are you really angry about? What is it that was violated? What is it that you're defending? What is it that you love that was threatened? Or what is it that you value that was threatened? Why was this an injustice? Why was this an injustice? And so oftentimes we may find that, well, it was really a threat to my pride or my ego, or it was a threat to my security or my safety, or maybe it was something challenging my freedom, or maybe it was something that went against my respect. I got disrespected. Or maybe it's something that impeded on my happiness or my status. Or maybe it involved other people's opinion of you. You know, if you're always getting angry and the root of it is how other people see you, then that'll tell you something. You know, or maybe it was a threat to your reputation, or a threat to your intelligence or your significance. Or maybe it was a threat to God. So whatever it is that was threatened, that made you angry, that can be you think about what is it that is such a big threat that you got angry about it. What is it that you value so much that it deserves you getting angry? What is it that you feel you didn't get that you deserved? And many of us will get angry about someone saying something negative about us, or negative than we will about them saying something towards God, or negative. They say something negative about our political candidate, or they say something negative about our gender, or something negative about our race, or something negative about our pastor, or something negative about our fraternity or sorority. But we get more angry about that than if they say something negative about our God. So what you get angry about can let you know what you really value. If you always get angry when people talk about this one thing, that means that that's something that's important to you. So our anger can show us insights about ourselves, about our values, about our priorities. Are you more angry about someone talking about your political stance than about your God? And so that can help you learn about yourself, your anger.
So the question again to those, because you gave some, that was really good. That was very valuable that you just stated there. Because you gave a really good list.
Oh,
but that is a list to what? What was the question again?
Oh, so one of them, what is it that you value so much that a threat to it makes you angry? What is it that you feel you deserve that you didn't get? And the last one was, do you get angrier when people say something negative about, and then the list, versus when they say something about your God? So the list was, do you get angrier when people say something about your gender, say something about your race, say something about your political candidate or your pastor or your fraternity, sorority, or your neighborhood, or the music you like?
Yeah, I like the characteristics you were giving. I know those grouping of things, but you were saying, what is it that?
A threat to your pride.
Okay, now hold on.
It's on your screen. A threat to your pride or your ego. A threat to your security.
Let me photograph that.
Your security or your safety.
That was really good.
A threat to your freedom. A threat to your respect.
Could you take it down a bit so I can get to the very top? It says, why is it? Next time. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, your status, people's opinion of you, your reputation, your intelligence, your significance, your God.
Those are good. Oh, good things to take notice of.
Yeah. So to let you know something about yourself. So your anger can inform you about yourself. So we can use the anger to better self-awareness and to better change into what we want to be.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. So nextly, we talked about the fact that your anger can cause you to have disordered goals. So when someone makes you angry, if a kid dirtied up the floor, you would get angry and want them to clean the room, but you wouldn't want to, destroy the kid and something. But a lot of times we'll get angry at someone, and then instead of the issue, now we want to just attack the person. Now we want to hurt the person. So our anger, it goes from the issue to the person. Now we aren't just angry at the act, we're angry at the person. I was waiting to get the parking spot, somebody took it, so when they went in, I keyed their car. I didn't key their car, so it's like I wanted to just hurt them. It's like you go from the issue now, you just want to solve the problem. So love doesn't go after the person, love goes after the problem. Yeah. So if we're responding with love, we're trying to solve the issue. We're not trying to fix the person. We're not trying to hurt the person. So when you're angry, your goals get disordered. So your goals get disordered. So your disordered love can cause you to have disordered goals.
So, Michael, I have a question.
Yes.
So, in the instance where you thought about keying that car, what was the conversation in your head that got you through it? I mean, these are things, just your thoughts. You got upset. Somebody probably did something or took your pocket. Something tells you you just want to react to it. You know, I need to go. You know, use my keys on the car. What is it that goes on in your mind? And actually, how do you work it out where you kind of return to your peace and just let it go at that moment? And how long does it take you to do it?
Well, I get that was a hypothetical. That was,
I know.
but
Yeah, it's not you. It's not you.
we're going to so we're going to go through that in a bit, but I guess one of the things would be that I remember. We're actually going to go through this in a little bit, but one of the things would be, I guess, thinking of what is the real issue? Is this going to make things better? Is this going to make things better? A good thing would be, you know, Chris mentioned, you know, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do?
So for me, when I find myself in a situation, even though I'm angry, I mean, I get angry easily. I mean, little things can set me off, and one of the things is about my people attacking my character.
Yeah.
Or people disrespecting me. You know, it always happens when I feel it. So what I have tried to do is to think about within seconds. So what is going to be the outcome of if I react that way? What is the end goal? How is it going to end? Is it going to, like somebody trying to cut me off, and I'm so upset, I say, okay, I'm gonna hit your car. The thing is, so when I hit the car, then what happens? I was in a hurry. Now, how much time am I going to spend dealing with the issues? So it's like going from something very minimal. Now you got to something so, you know, deadly and time consuming. So for me, when I'm getting into those kind of things, I immediately I stop speaking. I don't respond. So it gives me time to walk away, because I know if I say something, nothing good will come out of it. It will escalate. I just kind of walk away without responding to it. But I wouldn't have walked away from it before I know Christ. But I'm thinking about what is the ultimate end? What is gonna happen? What am I trying to achieve by that confrontation? How do I mean, what kind of scenario am I expecting? I could be wrong. It could be someone you just wanted to talk to. You end up throwing punches. They could come after you. They could have a gun. So you think about those things. It kind of makes me hold back, but I don't respond to it. I keep my words. I swallow it. It hurts for a few moments, then you forget it. That's the way that I deal with it. But I have a hard time when people disrespect me.
Yeah.
I always approach people with the highest respect. So when they disrespect you, you feel like almost like it's a violation.
Yeah.
So now it feels like it's a sin to feel that way. So is this battle because you are a new person in Christ? You are constantly trying to balance things. And when you slip, if you speak, something that comes out at that moment is not something good. And then you want to take it back after you do it. So I try not to do it, because the remorse and just the humiliation when I leave, I can't even look at myself in the mirror. I feel like I've failed the Holy Spirit. So I try to struggle with it. Just don't say nothing, walk away with it. And then everything goes away.
Yeah. You mentioned, one of the things you mentioned about, you know, what is your self-talk? That's one of the things we talked about last week, is because you're saying, you know, oh, that selfish person, they just, oh, that person, and so it's what you're telling yourself. And so changing your self-talk could be part of it. So maybe instead of telling yourself this, you can tell yourself, I'll get you in a minute, tell yourself, oh, it's all good, or telling yourself, letting go of my anger clears my mind and allows me to make wise decisions, or making smart decisions allows me to have a peaceful life, or I strive to have a peaceful life, or as Chris said, you know, what would Jesus do? Oh, go ahead, Chris.
And remember, when you key someone's car, that's a vengeful act, correct?
Yeah.
What does the Bible say about vengeance? Who does vengeance belong to?
God.
Vengeance belong to?
belongs.
But if you go, thank you. So I keep my key in my pocket and walk away and say, God, you got this.
Yeah.
God is God's. Vengeance belongs to God, not to us.
Right.
But
Yeah.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want you to tell him that he got it. He just wants you to forgive it and go. Don't worry about what he does with it.
Yeah.
That's God's prerogative. How he pays that guy back.
Right.
It's not our prerogative. Our prerogative is faith. Vengeance belongs to God. God will take care of it.
Right.
Yes.
And God knows like the severity of it. Like you said, maybe it was, it was an he's a doctor. He's got to go deliver a baby in the mall or something. Or
Could have had to go to the bathroom.
could have had to go to the bathroom. Yeah, that's the example we talked about last week. Yeah.
I heard that differently. I thought you were saying if you came out and saw that your car had been keyed, not you seeking revenge by keying someone, but what if you come out and you find your car has been keyed?
Yeah.
Contain your anger.
Same thing. Well, it's not the same thing, but
No. Especially when there's no one really to direct it to, because you don't know who did it.
Right.
That could anger you even more.
Yeah, because it's an injustice, and it's injustice. I didn't do anything to deserve this. And
Examples of reaction versus acting upon your anger, right?
yeah,
I mean, it's okay to be upset or angry about it, but it's the way that you react to it.
right. Yeah. So it's fine to be. Yeah, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry about it, and it's natural to be angry about it. But yeah, don't go go home and yell at everybody there, or cursing and screaming, and yeah, especially you don't have anyone to direct it to. So, but
Don't sin in your anger.
don't sin in your anger. Yeah. Okay. So so your anger can reveal. It goes, and so your anger can also reveal your idols. Can reveal your idols. So if we build our happiness on things, if we build it on this job, this spouse, this certain income level, having perfect kids, if our happiness is based on getting those things, like this is my goal, and we don't get them, then we can have anger. We can be angry, So what is it that if you don't get, you're going to be angry? And we can be angry. We can be angry at life, or we can even be angry at God. Angry at God. And so when we are angry, and so that's when we talked about the bitterness. Sometimes when we get older, we get bitter. You have unfulfilled dreams. So what you're angry about can reveal an idol in your life. So it can reveal what is an idol in your life. So your anger, so another thing your anger can do is it can reveal what is an idol in your life. What is it that if I don't get this, if I don't get this health, this wealth, this prosperity, that, if I don't get this, then I'm going to be angry. So that reveals what's an idol in your life. What is it that you put on a pedestal? You put it on a pedestal. And lastly, your anger can reveal your, it's connection issues. Lastly, your anger can reveal your insecurities. Your anger can reveal your insecurities. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when you get angry at something, it was an attack on your worth, or you perceived it as an attack on your worth. Who has Proverbs 18:19?
That's me.
Okay.
A brother wronged is more unyielding than a fortified city. Disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel.
Right.
So
So
so I apologize for her anger over here.
Uh-oh. Right on cue.
Cute, yeah.
Yes, an brother offended is harder to win than a strong city. So when you offend someone, it's like we talked about the politics. Everybody was offended. Once you offend them, then you can't really win them over anymore. They don't really hear what you have to say. So we get offended if someone flips us off in traffic, when someone speaks down to us, Silva talked about, situations where you get offended. Some of those on social media, people, were arguing on social media a lot. Someone may attack you on social media so think about what it is that offends you. What comments about you hurt the most? What comments about you hurt the most? So anger can reveal your insecurities. So if someone comments about, this person and they're like, oh, they're just so rich. Oh, look at old Richie Rich, just all rich. They may not get offended. They may not get too offended. But if they're saying something like, oh, you just got the money from your daddy, implying that, they didn't deserve it or work, then they may get more offended. But so in order for you to get offended, you have to have some insecurity about it, or you have to either think that person thinks negatively about it, or you have to kind of think negative about it. Otherwise, it's just a fact. If someone says, hey, look at that tall person, some people will take it as a compliment. Other people will take it as an insult. So if you get angry about it, then it could point to the fact that you have some insecurity about it. And it may be from, history that other people have said negative things about that, or maybe you think negatively of it, or something you're insecure about. So what you get angry about can point out the things that you're insecure about. So we feel attacked when we feel attacked emotionally, physically, psychologically. So we can ask ourselves, why am I feeling threatened? Ask yourself, what is it that's being attacked? Who is attacking me? Is this person even, who is this person anyway? Why do I care what this person thinks or says? Who is attacking me? Is it somebody I don't even know? Is this a big threat or a small threat? Is this really a big threat to me or not a threat? Whose approval am I seeking? Ask yourself. And then ask yourself, whatever you're thinking of doing now, has anything been resolved this way in the past? So when you're thinking about one thing, Silva, you mentioned it, if you're thinking about doing something, has anything ever been resolved this way in the past? When I've done this in the past, how did that turn out? And then you can ask yourself, what is it that I'm insecure about? What is it that I'm secure about? When people talk about this one thing, I always blow up. So your anger can point to your insecurity. So your anger can help you learn about yourself. So your anger can help you learn about yourself, and you can take it to God to help him deal with that. And so we talked about last week strategies for disordered love. The first one is first you have to admit that you're angry. So a lot of times, we're angry. Are you're angry? No, I'm not angry. No, I'm not angry. We don't want to admit the anger. So first you have to admit you're angry, and then we talk about your self-talk. What you tell yourself. Well, let me play. No, go ahead, Patrice.
Hey everybody. So I was listening to what you were saying about like certain words being stated, and sometimes it's not even about the words; it's the way that they're expressed.
Yeah.
So I know you were using the example about like, oh, you're so tall or something like that. Oh, I got one actually since I'm so skinny. So I tend to be a petite person, and people will say to me, especially women, will kind of talk to me like I don't have any problems because I'm skinny. So it's like, oh, but you're so skinny. So like I'm supposed to have like no cares in the world or something. And I try to tell them like, this being skinny doesn't necessarily. And it's weird, shunned or whatever because I'm skinny. So there is some sort of like, I guess, jealousy there. But if the words are expressed like, hey, you're so skinny, good for you, then, that's different than going, oh, you're so skinny, right? So, and I know my daughter, sometimes she says certain things to me, and I'll tell her, watch the way you're talking to me. And she'll be like, what? I just said, X, Y, and Z, right? Like, I just said, whatever, the earth is round or whatever. And I'm like, it's the way that you're saying it. But she's young, so she doesn't, it yet. But yeah, so it is the way that it's expressed. But as you were saying, it's the way we receive it determines a lot.
Yeah.
So if we are, we receive it and we just kind of let it go, then that's good, as long as we're being true to the way we feel, right? On the other hand, if it makes us angry, then we should, like you're saying, acknowledge it, and we need to establish healthy boundaries. And what I notice sometimes, like when I do establish healthy boundaries, I'm always like, oh, that's good, I established healthy boundaries, right? But sometimes it offends people when I establish healthy boundaries, and I'll come back like, why are they upset that I established healthy boundaries? And I don't know if it was you or someone else was like, yeah, because they're not getting what they want. So even though it was healthy for you to establish the boundaries, they might come back, and state something maybe not so nice because now they're not getting what they want out of the whole deal. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess. But anyway, the whole point I'm trying to make is that if something does anger you or you feel a certain way about something, use God's discernment in determining like how to handle the situation. But yeah, if you want to establish healthy boundaries, I would say stick to your guns and just realize that there are going to be some people who are not going to be really happy with the boundaries you established, but you still have to do those things for your health, your well-being.
Yeah. So it's a couple points I want to reiterate from what you said. So setting boundaries is a way to manage it as well. So express the person that, when you say this, it makes me feel this way. So you don't have to say it offensively, but let them know that you take it negatively, and you'd appreciate if they didn't say that again. So you can establish what your boundary is clearly, so they know. So if they do cross it again, that that they knew they were crossing it. It was clear, and they know. But don't offend them in telling them. But then also you said, if they said it one way, you may respond. If they said, hey, hey, you're great. You're so lucky. You're skinny. Mm-hmm. But if they say, oh, look at Jill's skin. So if they say it, like their tone or what how you perceive their intent from it is a big part of the offense. What you perceive they meant by it. So part of it is how you feel about it if you're insecure, but then the other part is how you perceive they meant by it. If they're saying something that's usually a derogatory term and you've heard it used that way a lot, then it's going to be easy to assume that that's how that person meant it, if that's how you normally hear it. And so thank you for that. And that actually ties into a quick video.
Sometimes you're not angry about what happened to you. You're angry about what you told yourself about what happened to you, how you interpreted it. Sometimes you're not angry.
Yeah, so sometimes we're angry about how we interpreted what happened. So somebody said something. We had to put some interpretation in it in order, somebody else may hear it and they go, oh no, that's a compliment. And you're like, no, that wasn't a compliment. So we have to, because we use our previous experiences and discernment, as Patrice mentioned, to gauge the intent of what happened. So anger can help you in those ways. Next, anger. So I assume your hand is up from the last hand raising. So anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is a secondary emotion. So often when we get angry, it's usually caused by another emotion. There's usually another emotion that went on underneath. So we're often angry. There can be a deeper issue at the surface. So for example, if you're stopped at a light and you get a text, and so you're looking at your phone and You can't believe what the person said on the text. And you're looking at the text, and all of a sudden behind you, you hear, bam, 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 and you look up and the light is green. And so, we get angry. You get angry, we get angry because this person is honking at us. Get angry because this person is honking at us. That's so rude. But the reality is, you might be angry because you felt guilty because you weren't paying attention. And so the guilt was the first emotion and anger was on top of it. Or you may be angry because you were embarrassed because that person drew attention to you. So you may have been embarrassed. Or you may be angry because you felt disrespected. You felt it's disrespectful or rude. But so there's some other emotion that comes before the anger. So the anger is a response to another emotion. So we can also learn about ourselves if we identify what is that other emotion. Don't just go to the anger and respond to the anger, but think about, okay, what is the emotion? What am I really angry about? I'm angry because I'm embarrassed. I'm angry because I feel disrespected. I'm angry because I feel guilty. So if we can identify what the real emotion is, I'm angry because this person, I felt betrayed. I'm angry because, so if we identify what the real cause of your anger is, then you can also learn about yourself. Your coworkers didn't include you when they made a decision. You're angry because your pride was hurt. Your pride was hurt that they didn't feel they needed to involve you in it. And so, so think about, what is it that you're really angry about? What is the underlying emotion? What is the underlying emotion that's really causing you to be angry? And so God can use that knowledge to help work on you. So if I can identify that secondary emotion, God can use that to help change. It can change your life. It can change your life. And so God can use it so you can understand yourself. So we can use anger. So anger reveals your heart. And so we can use our anger to help God to change us. So anger isn't a problem. Anger is a warning light. So anger is a warning light that there is a problem. So it may be a threat. It may be something that you need to protect yourself against, or it may be a warning light of something in you, of your mindset. It may be pointing to an idol. It may point out an insecurity, or it may point out what you value, something that you have too much of a value on that you shouldn't. So anger can help you pinpoint these things, and it can help you change. And you can bring that to God, and it can help change your life. If you analyze, so if we can analyze our anger now, and we can find out, okay, what is it in my life that's an idol? We can analyze, okay, what is it that I'm insecure about? Why is this such a touchy subject for me? Anytime somebody says this or brings this up, why do I get angry? Is it really that big a deal? Or what is it that I value that people are offending? So anger can help you learn yourself better.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Any thoughts on that? Anger reveals your heart.
I remember I haven't had a friend when I would talk to her and vent to her. She would always ask why. She would always make me say, "Why is it you're mad?" Think about what that like you said, anger is underlying. You're angry, but why is it what really caused you to be mad? And it made me stop and think about that secondary, like you said, anger secondary, but there's something else going on with you.
Yeah. So think about that. What is it that is really going on? So it can help us, especially in these situations where it's emotional hurt. There may be, it may be physical pain. Then it's pretty clear. I'm angry because it's physical pain. But other times when it's emotional, it gets a little more complicated.
Yeah, that was a practice my wife and I would do, particularly like her with me. I might be really angry, and it doesn't warrant the anger that I have. And she'll say, "What's really going on? It couldn't be about this that it seems like I'm upset about."
Yeah.
And it's like she would say, "Wait a minute, what are you really angry about?" It would put me in check, and I had to think about it. And why am I so upset over send you to your room to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sometimes it could be, a snowball. So it's like, oh, we had a bad day at work, and so then we leave. We're kind of in a little bit of a bad mood. Then we get now there's traffic. Then we get somebody flips us off. Now we're mad at that. Then you get home and whatever you were expecting wasn't there what you're expecting, and so it's like. And it snowballs, and so and you're just now you're angry, so a little thing happens and you're blowing up,
Right.
and it's like, but you're really angry at something else, and so yeah. Okay. All right, now we'll talk about the 3 ways that we express anger. 3 ways that we express anger, 3 categories. So there are lots of ways that we express anger. We're going to focus on 3, but so some of the ways we express anger. I'll share this. We may shut down. Some people assert power and authority when they're angry. Some people become aggressive. Some people yell, scream, and shout. Some people may slam doors. Some people will belittle other people. Yeah. Some may slander and talk about people. Some may intimidate. Some will demean others. Some will get depressed when they get angry. Some will isolate themselves. Some will alienate other people when they're angry. Some will suppress their feelings. Some will repress. Some get afraid. Some will punch a wall maybe. Others will grab and bite, throw things. Some become defensive. Some become prideful and arrogant. Some people withdraw when they get angry. Some become self-righteous. Some will curse. Some, they withhold affection when they get angry. Some, they whine. Some will put other people's down. Some people roll their eyes. Some people blame other people. Some people feel shame. Some people will manipulate. Some people will cover up their feelings, cover up the anger. Some people will hate themselves. Other people will make excuses. Let me make excuses for my anger. Some will rationalize, justify their actions and their feelings. Some people get discouraged, despondent, depressed. Some go to gossiping and slandering. Some will minimize it. It's not a big deal. Some will deny it. Some get self-pity. Some get critical of others. Some get sarcastic. Some people will give you the silent treatment when they're angry, and others will cry. So there are lots of ways that we express our anger, lots of different ways, and so therefore some people, they think they don't have anger issues because they're not expressing it in the ways that they see as bad. But there are different ways to express it, and there are different ways that still need to be addressed. So we're going to look at 3 categories of anger, three types of anger. Let's see. Who has Ephesians 4:15?
I do.
Okay.
And then we will no longer be infants. Or 4:15, you said?
Yes, 4:15.
Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become, in every respect, the mature body of Him who is the head, that is Christ.
All right, so that's a yardstick. Are we speaking the truth in love when we're angry? Is that the response we give? We speak the truth in love. So if you're speaking the truth in hate or viciousness, that's not the response you get. But if you're not speaking the truth, or you're not speaking at all, that's not the response we want either. So we want to speak the truth in love. So we'll look at the three ways to respond to anger. So the 3 categories are: one type of person is exploding or spewing. They explode their anger. The second type of person is a stuffer. They stuff it. They repress their anger. And the third type of person, they indirectly express it. They express it indirectly, or some people call it leakers. They're leakers. And so you may be one type in one place and another type in another place. So maybe you're an exploder at home or when you're with the people that are close to you, but when you go to work, you're not the boss there, so you're a stuffer. You just stuff it. You just hold it in. I remember I was working at one project, and the project manager we were working with, he was like just the nicest guy, just agreeable, real mild mannered, and a lot of the people at at that organization were just direct and just confrontational and rude, and they would, but he was always just nice and polite. Sometimes he would get taken advantage of, nice and polite. But then we would go to lunch. We would go to lunch every now and then, and he's driving. And he's driving, somebody gets in front of him. He's like, "Hey, you effing da 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 da." He just like me and my coworker were like, "What in the world? Who is this person driving the car?" Like once he got behind the wheel, he just turned into a whole different person. He's like, "What the hell?" He's like yelling at the people. They're like, they couldn't hear him. But so we may have expressed it differently in different scenarios, in different situations, or around different people. So the first, number three was the indirect, or the leaker. Okay, so the first one is the exploder, the spewer. So the way they express their anger is through yelling and screaming and fighting and hitting and intimidation and aggression. They're overly opinionated. They're overly bold. They're blunt. They're forceful. They don't have tact. They're demanding. And they're often repetitive. If you're in an argument with them, they'll keep saying the same thing over and over. They'll just keep repeating the same thing over and over. It's the exploder. And there's two types of exploders. There's some that are reactive and some that are calculated. So some that something happens, they just explode. It's just a reaction. But others will actually plan it. They think about it. They calculate to explode. Their view of anger is that anger is necessary. Anger is necessary. And their view on situations is, hey, do what I say or else. So they view anger as something that's necessary. Anger is necessary. They've accepted it as part of their life, part of normal human conflict. And it may help them feel in control, not allow, so they don't have to feel the hurt sometimes. So this is the exploder. But the results of exploding, it gives them a sense of power sometimes. It gives them a sense of power. It can help them release pent-up emotions. But they can also get a sense of guilt afterwards, or a sense of loss of control, or a sense of regret for their actions. And, sometimes it can cause other people to retaliate. It can cause other people to retaliate.
Yeah, you're describing two personality types that HP used to give personality tests to employees. And this exploder, he would be identified as the one that would hold and would get sabotage the more aggressive one. It's called amiables. Drivers, the ones that are high basic will explode and be reactive and calculative, are classified as drivers. And the ones that are usually get the butt in of their explosiveness and kind of shrivel or considered what I just said.
Amiables,
yeah.
Okay.
But they can be dangerous because they can sabotage what the driver is trying to do. They'll be quiet about it, but next thing you know, they can sabotage what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
So the badness.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot of different personality type categorizations. Yeah. So we want to look at this. We're looking at from the response to anger. So response to anger. So it could be multiple personality types, but I guess we're also lumping in personality types. And so the people around these people, they walk on eggshells. They end up having to walk on eggshells. They tread lightly to because they don't want the person to explode. And also relational impact is that people may not tell them the truth. because they're trying to keep them from reacting, so they withhold the truth in an attempt to control the person's reaction. And
It's often said of the White House, which was often said of the White House staff, would withhold the truth from Trump because he would throw such tantrums.
Yeah, so you don't want the person. Yeah, you don't want the person to explode. So yeah, so if someone's gonna explode, you withhold the truth. And they wound themselves and others. They can end up with strained, unhealthy relationships, and it can create dysfunction. It can create dysfunction, partly from the fact that people can't be authentic around them. Patrice.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to comment about that. So I used to use that type of response to anger by lashing out, being explosive. So I'm going to just explain where it was coming from my point of view. It was never intended to offend or hurt the party I was speaking to. The way that my mind was working at the time was that when I was angry, I would talk it out, but when I was talking it out, I was yelling, and I didn't really realize it. What I felt in my body was that all of the anger was coming out when I was talking, and I was able to let it out, and I thought that I was letting it out in a safe environment, not realizing that the party I was talking to was getting affected by it. So unfortunately, they didn't say anything, right? And I didn't realize it. I just thought I was with a friend and just releasing, right? And so I've lost at least one friendship because of it, right? It's been hard. Anger management's been a tough thing. I come from a family where anger on both sides is not expressed that greatly, right? So it's taken me a lot of years to calm down from that. And, I'm still working on it, right? But I feel like I'm doing a lot better with that. But yeah, it took me a long time to realize that I was affecting other people, friends, with the way that I was expressing my anger. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is I'm just trying to give you guys a different perspective about it and by experience, and also just to let you know, not everybody, I didn't feel like I was hurting the person.
Yeah, you didn't. Okay. Yeah, I was hoping someone would give the perspective on it. I was actually hoping someone would give the perspective on it.
Michael, I had a coworker that was like that. Everything you just talked about, I saw his whole face, while you were lecturing. It was really difficult to work with him. He would explode, and he would not only just react with emotions, but he would actually plan it out because he needed to get off it once a day. And he would target his victims for little issues, like if they went up to you and say, "Hey, Michael, I like the color of your shirt," and you would say, "Thank you," and I would say, "Where'd you buy it?" And you could tell that I'm trying to escalate something, And the moment you wouldn't answer, I would explode, and he would actually plan this out in his brain. I don't think he was aware of it. He's not old, but when he quit or took an early retirement before getting fired, all of us were so relieved. I'm not kidding you. It was like all of a sudden everybody was able to talk to each other the right way and say, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I just feel the atmosphere, the taste of that room. I mean, it's a lot better, We were so glad that he was out of there because the manager favored him. And so that was a problem right there, And he was very explosive. He was kind of like, he's kind of like a reaction of Will Smith going up there, but a little more violently. But he wouldn't do violence because of the work situation. But he would actually cut you down and talk to you all the way till you clock out, and then tell you with a lot of foul language how he felt, and you're going, holy mackerel, I'm out of here, you know. And people didn't want to work on his shift. It was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything you talked about was exactly to this person. And then I had another coworker who went on medication. It actually helped him. You know, it wasn't a lot. It was like, 0.5 milligrams, almost like a small little baby aspirin. And it kind of connected the brain tissues and all the synapses and all the stuff like that. And he was able to, you could talk to him. I guess it mellowed him to the point that he cannot react, but he could listen to you. And it seemed to make sense, and he would reply. But once he's off that medication every 4 hours or whatever, you will see a change in his eyesight, and people would just avoid him.
Oh.
Yeah. We were kind of scared working on these people's shifts. I would ask, we would look at the schedule ahead of time to go, who's working with me? Maybe I should call in sick, that type of thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy working, but I wish I had you lecture me a little more earlier.
Yeah.
It would have helped me. It would have helped my stability.
And you mentioned you don't know if he was doing it on purpose. So I heard a quote a couple weeks ago that says, "Peace looks like boredom to people who grew up in chaos." Peace looks like boredom to people who grew up in chaos. So there's some people who, like, if you grew up with chaos going on and yelling and screaming and cursing at home, then that's normal for you. But that's what love looks like. Love looks like yelling and screaming and cursing. That's what love looks like to you. So, that's, normal for you in a relationship. Yelling and screaming, that's what's comfortable for you. And so if you got just quiet peace, so some people will intentionally, and unfortunately that's I have a history of having dated quite a few of those, and actually I went a couple of weeks ago. Somebody was telling me, they would get bored for something. I was like, okay, I noticed they were. This is our first and last. But some people intentionally cause drama, just because. Otherwise, it's just boring. Like my assumption was, okay, everybody's looking for peace. Everybody's looking for just peace, but that's not the case. Some people, they need something going on. They need something going on in their lives. Or just something, to spice things up. They need to create some chaos and drama.
So peace looks like boredom to someone that what?
Grew up in chaos.
Grew up. Yeah. That's interesting. It's terrible to work under a manager like that. I've had one. Like that.
Yeah, that's really tough. That's really tough. And the thing and some people because I'm thinking that, okay, if we're yelling and screaming, then there's something wrong. But some people that's normal to them. They don't think of conflict and yelling and screaming as, they don't really give it a second thought. Like I'll be coming home thinking about, oh my goodness, it's such a horrible. They don't give it a second thought. That's just normal for them, yelling and screaming.
No, that is so true. My ex, the first time, he was fighting, I was calm, but he was yelling and screaming, and called me a name, and nobody had ever called me that, at least to my face before. And I was just completely devastated because I'm not a fighter. And he had no clue why I was upset. And I'm like, wait, you just called me, this word, and that was hurtful.
Wow.
And he's like, well, so that's perfectly normal. I used to call my ex that all the time, and I'm like, hence you now your ex, But yeah, I had no idea that people actually, that was a way of life, and it was a normal way of life, and they thought nothing of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say, when I growing up, I had a sister 8 years older than me and a brother 8 years younger. So I had a lot of quiet time, and all my academia, studying and everything was normally in a quiet room, pretty quiet. My wife, however, grew up with siblings that were closer in age, and they were running around the house while she was doing homework, making noise, playing games or whatever. So one time we tried to study together, my wife and I wanted everything kind of quiet, maybe some classical music or something playing in the background. Yeah. She wanted the TV on and everything, and the full room. That was her comfort zone. And if it was too quiet, she would get bored. She said it would get sleep. She'd get sleepy.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to study together.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, and because that's how some people live life like that. Yeah. Some people, they need drama and stuff going on, or else they'll get bored.
Yeah.
And and so I've dealt with a lot of that. That's partly why I'm single. I was like, well, because that was what I attracted. That was what I attracted and was attracted to unconsciously. It's like, okay, I need to fix me in order to not. But I wasn't gonna marry that. So it was like just a series of unending. Anyway, but yeah. So some people need drama in order to just feel normal.
They say opposites attract.
Yeah, opposites attract. Opposite, opposite, or
they're not too extreme.
Opposites, or what do they call it? Matching neuroses attract. So givers attract takers. Abusers attract people who are used to being abused. So either the same or just the ones that match. They match what the issue, match the problem, matching problems. So you got to change your problem in order to change what you're attracting.
And you add God to it, it smooths everything out.
Yeah, God. So people can change. If both of you have God in your life, then you can work it out. And if both of you have, that's why you want to marry a Christian, because there's hope. But also because a lot of times the neuroses that you attract is going to put a light on your issue, and it's going to help you change. The issues that you're running into are going to put a light on your issue and going to help you change. So usually the matching neuroses is what you need to point to your either you're going to change your issue, or it's going to just continue to be miserable. But it may be something like you need to learn how to place boundaries, or you need to learn how to so it can point to the thing that needs to change in you.
Yeah, Michael, this is Patrice on the phone.
Hey, Patrice.
I'm back. Sorry, bad reception, but I wanted to say the person who was talking, and I think you mentioned it too, that again, some people don't know that the drama that you're talking about is considered drama. For them, it's not drama. Unfortunately, it's normal. And they probably, if they grew up in it,
Right.
then it's normal for them, and they're not going to know that it's not normal until they're interacting with other people, which I was hearing, like Angel's example and other people's examples as well. Thank you for sharing.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, we talked about that when you're off. It was I gave a quote that said peace looks like chaos to people who grew up in. Peace looks like boredom to people who grew up in chaos. Yeah, they don't necessarily. They think it's normal, and so yeah, they're not necessarily trying to do something negative. That's just normal life to them.
It's toxic in a work environment. It's very toxic when you try to manage life with conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially and it doesn't match with a lot of personalities. So it can, if you have a lot of what you talked about drivers, they can thrive in that environment. But people who, cower and they assume that it's something wrong. Whereas what's normal to one person is just drama and chaos to another one.
Which is why we all need God.
Why we all need God? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We all need God. We all have stuff that we need to
Yes.
work on. We all have issues that we need to work on, and we all, yeah. And so the anger. So what we're seeing is that our anger can help point to what we need to work on. Can help point us to what we need to work on. So some solutions to exploders are to recognize your triggers, and so we'll be getting more into this later as well. We'll be getting more into this. So solution: recognize your triggers, to acknowledge your fears. Sometimes it's fear, and I have a video about that. To give up control. Sometimes it's people get angry to gain control of a situation. Sometimes feel like they feel like they're losing control, and so some people will get angry in order to gain control. So what you need to do there is trust God. Trust God in that you don't have to take control of the situation. Trust God. Another solution is to learn to communicate your anger appropriately. Identify your insecurities and identify your vulnerabilities. Identify your vulnerabilities. So here's a video.
Michael, if you would please, when you're given a list like that, if you don't have it on the screen, could you just go a little slower?
Okay.
So to get control.
So solutions. Yeah, solutions were to recognize the triggers,
Right.
to acknowledge their fear, give up control, or learn to trust God, learn to give it to God. They don't have to be in control in order to feel safe, feel normal. Learn to communicate your anger appropriately or effectively. Identify their insecurities if they don't know them. And identify their vulnerabilities, which we'll talk about both of those a bit later. Well, I guess it'll be the next lesson, potentially. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and here's Stephen Furtick talking about something he discovered about his anger.
For a moment. A lot of times when I'm angry, it's not really that I'm angry as much as it is I'm afraid. But where it comes out isn't necessarily where it comes from. And so sometimes I'm telling myself I need to work on my temper when really I need to work on my trust. Because if I trusted God more, then I wouldn't feel afraid. And if I didn't feel afraid, then I wouldn't feel the need to lash out. But some of us have spent so many years fixing symptoms, we've never even really discovered the disease. And so we are dealing with disappointments at the level on which they appear and dysfunctions on the level on which they appear. And we spend our whole life mopping up the floor, but we don't even know which pipe is leaking. Let's talk about anger for a moment. A lot of times.
So it sounds like he's coming from an exploder point of view. So a lot of times we mopping up the floor, we don't even know which pipe is leaking. So that's what we're talking about, getting to the root of it, finding out the real root cause. Is it an idol? Is it a fear? Is it control? And some exploders, they feel bad afterwards and they want to change. Patrice talked about how she changed, so that's good. All right, now here are 10 questions to let you know if you're an exploder. 10 questions to let you know if you're an exploder. So if you answer yes to 5 or 6 of these, then you might be an exploder. 10 questions. Okay, so here are the questions. Number 1, or 10 statements if they're true for you. I can be blunt and forceful when someone does something to frustrate me. I could be blunt and forceful when someone does something to frustrate me. Number 2, As I speak my convictions, my voice becomes increasingly louder. As I speak my convictions, my voice becomes increasingly louder. Number 3, when someone confronts me with a problem, I'm likely to offer a ready rebuttal. When someone confronts me with a problem, I'm likely to offer a ready rebuttal. Number 4, no one has to guess my opinion. I'm known for having unwavering viewpoints. No one has to guess my opinion. I'm known for having unwavering viewpoints. Number 5, when something goes wrong, I focus so sharply on fixing the problem that I often overlook other people's feelings. When something goes wrong, I focus so sharply on fixing the problem that I often overlook other people's feelings. Says looks like I might be frozen. Number 6, can you hear me? Number 6, I have a history of getting caught in bickering matches with family members. Number 6, I have a history of getting caught in bickering matches with family members. Number 7, during verbal disagreements with someone, I tend to repeat myself several times. During verbal disagreements with someone, I tend to repeat myself several times. Number 8, I find it hard to keep my thoughts to myself when I know something is wrong. I find it hard to keep my thoughts to myself when I know something is wrong. Number 9, I have a reputation of being strong-willed. I have a reputation of being strong-willed. And number 10, I tend to give advice even when others haven't asked for it. I tend to give advice even when others haven't asked for it. So if you answer yes to 5 or 6 of these, then you may be an exploder. You may be an exploder. All right. And if you're like on one of them, I don't know, maybe, sort of, no, maybe, then probably go with the yes. All right. Now, let's see. So people learn to be exploders from, their family, as we mentioned, your family of origin. If you're everybody in your household was exploding and yelling and cursing, then that's what's normal. That's going to be normal. Also, belief system. Your belief system can lead you to be exploder. Your experiences, or the relationships you've been in. You could learn it from the relationships you've been in. Experience being, some people change when they've gone through something, now their whole view of the world changes. So their belief system sort of maps back to your belief system, but your view of the world and how you interact with the world changes. So that's the exploder. And let's see. So we won't be able to do the stuffer and the indirect today. We'll do those in the next lesson. So looks like we'll be on anger for a while. Anger is going to be a deep topic. Okay, any thoughts? Any thoughts on that?
Sorry, Michael, go ahead. I got you.
No, I was asking, were there any thoughts?
I think it's good that it's going to be a while, not because it's an anger management class, not because it becomes a therapy for some, I think it's important because this whole world is so explosive on everything. They are so reactive, they're so emotional, and everybody's talking about respect. And I saw respect as someone coming over to the bus and they're either handicapped disabled, elderly, pregnant, too many packages, or just so tired. And respect is getting up and giving the seat to that person. You know, rather than sitting there and saying, you know, I pay for the same fare, you need to stand. You know, I sat here first. You know, respect for me is knocking on the door and saying thank you, you know. And if you cut me off and took the parking spot that I really wanted to take, but you didn't see me, I can overlook it, you know, rather than come by later on and bash your window in, you know, or key your car or whatever, you know. You know, I see respect as, you know, my teachers there are there to teach me, and I need to respect that. Whether I pass, fail is really me and not the teacher. The teacher is there to show me things, you know. You know, today, I mean, you could just look at somebody and they're going, what are you looking at, you know? And or if you're, you know, just gazing at someone's dress and talking to someone and saying, what a pretty dress, but that person turns around and says, are you gossiping about me? Are you, you know, right away you think it's so defensive, you know? And I think this type of illustration is good. I wish I had this maybe 2 decades ago, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, you know? I mean, you know, those are the type of things that you know, you look through hindsight, you're going, you know, someone will come up to you and say, man, you know, Mr. Leadon, you are so wise. And you're going, yeah, but you know how many people I damaged along the way, you know? You know, it's just like that, like I said about my 2 coworkers. We were scared to go to work. I mean, we just didn't want to be at work with them, you know? Try to avoid as much as I can, you know, for the last 8, 10 years, because that person was like so explosive, you know? His brother actually he was in the news. He got stabbed to death by his girlfriend. They put the girlfriend in jail for a few days, and they let her out. And the reason is because she was verbally and physically abused by him. He wouldn't let her out of her sight. You know, he wanted kids, and she was scared to have kids with him because the way he is, that genetically, it's not normal to have kids just like Dad, you know? So, you know, he just kept her as a prisoner, constantly abusing her. To one day, she got a knife, she couldn't take it, and he started going, that was like, it was in the news. He wanted to kill her or go ahead, stab me, and that's what she did. He went over there and grabbed, you know, he just wanted to beat her to death. It was, yeah, it was really, that was that guy's brother, you know, older brother, or younger brother. And it seems like that whole family is just genetically unstable. You know, and I think it's good that we can stay on these type of tracks where a person can see the symptoms, but as well as the solutions and the origin of all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's genetics or if it's, so you learn stuff from your family. So, I mean, in some sense, I guess it kind of doesn't matter whether it's in your genes or what you learned from your family, but there is also a lot of discovery they found in epigenetics that there are things, you know, like addictions and things, addictive stuff that you do inherit, but you can actually change them, and then it will actually change what's passed down. And so these things we can change, and being aware and change. Yeah, we want to be able to change.
Yes.
And,
through prayer, you know.
And Michael, Silva.
Prayer and you know, and asking God to change us.
yeah. Go ahead, Silva. Were you gonna say something?
Environments can affect people's, you know, sense of being and how they react to things. Environments.
Yeah, definitely. We're going. Yeah, that's that was yeah, that's going to be in apparently the lesson after next. I thought this was
from the Huddle. We were talking, ministering to a young man last Sunday over after church. We went to the police, and
I was there.
brother,
Oh.
Oh, were you there this past Sunday?
Oh no, not this past Sunday.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh,
Nah, I'm not talking about the one.
I was there too. I was there.
You were there? Somebody else was there?
I think.
This past Sunday?
Oh, it was the 2 Sundays ago, I believe.
Yeah,
Two
yeah.
Sundays ago.
I think that was when Darius was there. But
yeah.
there's another young man
Oh, okay.
came to our church and troubled and from a rough environment. And we were speaking to him and ministering to him about he has like 1 foot in the world and trying to serve 2 masters. And he was claiming that we didn't understand what's going on because of his environment. He lawyers collar and showed me where he'd been cut in the neck and stabbed in the chest. That's the kind of life I'm living. You don't understand. Why would God allow this to happen to me? And so he's bitter, but he does. But I think that he hasn't shut himself off. He's seeking, and he's hardened by his environment. But there's a softness there. I think that he's willing to receive the word and listen to others. So we're praying for him.
Yeah, and he's back. So he's
Right.
open. Yeah, and I know. Yeah, I gave him a ride home once. That brother, and I known him a long time ago. I know his girlfriend, or his
I
ex.
didn't get his name. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it now, but
No, it's not necessary, but yeah, at least you know who I'm talking about.
yeah, I know he was dreads.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I know him. Yeah, he's a guy. Let's see. Any other thoughts?
I think, Michael, the environment doesn't really cause it personally. I see the environment either enhances it or it decreases it, You could take someone that's explosive, put them in a nature, and nothing seems to stimulate that type of thinking in the brain. And that person could be okay. But then you get someone that's not comfortable with that because it's so peaceful. It can overreact that. And so it stimulates that to be a little more aggressive. They may end up chopping down flowers and trees and trying to shoot a hummingbird, throw rocks at it, that type of thing. So I think the environment really either enhances it or really decreases it.
Right.
I don't think it causes that.
Yeah. I think. I think your family can cause it in some sense, but I think in that sense. So in some sense. Cause in the sense that it can make you more prone to get angry. So just like, being hungry, being hot, certain environments can make you shorter tempered, can make you quick to anger. Certain situations, being lonely, being tired, so a certain environment. But yeah.
I think it fits that quote. Peace looks like boredom to someone that grew up in chaos.
Yeah.
Very much so there.
Yeah. What you grew up in. Let's see. Any other thoughts?
Well, I'd like to defend the comment
Okay.
where those who grew up in chaos
Okay.
find as something normal. So I'm a product of that, but I disagree because I know what it looks like. So I did grow up in a home full of chaos. And some of my family members, I will say that that's what they're accustomed to, but it didn't impact everyone, such as me. I chose differently because I know what it looks like. So I live a very peaceful life, and I know that it's abnormal because it was so prominent in my life and vivid, to where I know the differences of what peace looks like and what chaos, right? So I can't say in this case that it's every individual that comes from that particular circumstance is where it's looked at as normal, so to speak.
Right.
I think we all have our own journey. We make our own decisions, and we're able to determine it. What we do have a bit of discernment to understand what is and what is not our normal. So I don't think it's necessarily based on what what family you come from. I've seen people create their own chaos and come from peaceful homes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I said, I think we all are on our own walk of life, and everyone has their own journey, and we're taking it on our own with God. So I just wanted to put it that that's not in everyone, in every situation. It's definitely different for me. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not 100%, and you can definitely choose. You know, some people they will, grow up and say, I'll never hit, my kids, or I never like people can just make a decision not to grow up in that way. But I think the majority of people, how they resolve conflict looks like how their family resolved conflict, but it's definitely not 100% because you can make a decision that I'm not going to live life that way. And like you said, you can also have grown up in a good home or not a good home, but you can decide to negatively change because, depending on your approach to life and what you think, well, hey, that didn't yield the results I want. You know, my dad just worked all his life and never got anywhere, so I'm gonna go rob banks, because that, and he's, he was in debt his whole life, and that's just not fair. So yeah, you definitely make your own choices. You definitely you have the ability to make your own choice. So yeah. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. You definitely it's not 100%, but it is. I think it is the majority, but it's not 100% of everyone, and it's not. Yeah.
Uncle, I wanted to say something similar, kind of related to what you just said. I grew up in a culture, like in African culture, where people actually can beat their wives. I mean, almost like they have this authority. The kids will be there watching their father beat their mom. It's just a norm. And I saw all of this. And for some reason, when I came out here, I had it. I mean, I kind of became aware of it. I was married for 28 years. I've never even wanted to touch my wife. So it became almost like a crusade. The first time I went back to Africa after 2 years, I attended a village meeting, and I saw them treating women like they have no rights. And I ended up getting into confrontation with someone, and they were so confused, like, what is wrong with you? What happened to you in America? That men are talking, they shouldn't be speaking when men are speaking. So for me, even though it was a normal thing in my environment, for some reason I became allergic to it. And almost like the only thing that I want to confront people, when I travel back to Africa and see this going on, I have literally walked into somebody's face and asking him, if I said something that your wife said to you that caused you to beat him because they won't make an excuse, I said, would you beat me up? And then you see that they are kind of confused because this is a learned behavior that seems to be normal. They saw it growing up. It was okay. So women don't really come there to speak in the meetings.
You're on mute.
Just dropped.
Oh, he's up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, it can be broader than just the family. It can be the whole culture. We are learning things from our culture.
Yeah.
There are things we're learning from our culture. There are things that are in our culture that are strange to other cultures, and so yeah. So I think the environment does impact your thinking, but it's not. You can choose better. You can choose to do differently. You can make your own decisions, but it does have an impact on it. And sometimes people, especially like achievers, will say that, that it will become a sense of pride that I don't do this. I don't do, I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not going to be like my mom, and that will. And then we have to make sure we don't beat ourselves up to the extreme and to take it to the other extreme and beat ourselves up about it. That can happen as well. But yeah, you can definitely change, and you can definitely not repeat cycles. You can break the cycles. You can break cycles in your family, especially with Jesus and with God. You can take it to God and first identifying that it is an issue. First recognizing that it is not just normal, that it first, realizing or identifying it as bad, and then and wanting to change is the first step. Wanted to do that. All right. Let's see. Guess we can go ahead and close out. So so happy Resurrection Sunday, everyone. If I don't see you,
Okay, that sounds good. Let's pray. Father, you are good. Thank you for preparing us. Even more importantly, Lord, thank you for preparing Michael. You set him aside for doing all these assignments on top of his work, his personal life, to deal with other people that may have this issue, to deal with those that are already injured that has this issue, end up as a recipient of a lot of shatteredness in their lives. And sometimes they don't know which way to go. And somehow, Lord, you gave him the ingenuity as well as the academics to apply it, not only this time, but just in general to relation to God's word. And so help us all not to treat the class as a workshop for anger management, or for identifying basically what kind of person I am, but rather help us to see the differences of what our lives are, whether we are recipients or maybe the facilitators of these processes in life. And sometimes, Lord, help us to calm some of our emotions and help us to relate closer to the cross. And for those of us that needs to be transparent, and it may take years or maybe decades to grow, and help us to be a type of person that we can grab onto, to someone that we can rely on and ask for help. Not only just in prayer, but in accountability and discipleship, so that we can hide ourselves behind the cross. So Lord, with the angers that we have and different things that comes up in our lives, sometimes we become the drive-by product of someone's anger, and that puts us on eggshells, that we end up having fear. And some of us are just picks out victims and end up as the enforcer, and that puts fear on other people, and that seems to make us more prideful in many ways, and that's not a proper way of living on this earth. In all areas, help us to live at peace. Help us to heal, so that we can at least, Father, when we bump into people like that, we can say, I am working it through at the same time, and this is what you need too. Help us to be an encouragement for things that we do. Give Michael insights, not only just solutions, not only just recognitions, as well as some of the origins. Help him to actually develop a different understanding for both sides, as now we are filtering everything the experiences through your word, through prayer, through fellowship and understanding. Father, we thank you that we can be able to have this and be blessed with lessons like these, although some of them are more useful than every one, but they're all useful, because somehow along the way we can always use it as a reference for something that will pop up later on in life. So I thank you for the time that Michael had placed all these things through modern technology and also through social medias. We thank you for the moment that we get a chance to recognize some of the different traits that initiates our anger and frustration. And thank you for allowing us to see the different ways of expressing anger, which is not appropriate in any way. It is not beneficial, and it's not a blessing before you. Help us in all areas, Father, to take Scripture, to carve those into our lives, that we can develop the traits of wholeness, to what it means to be the same type of prayer that Jesus prayed to his Father, that you be one, that I may be one, that our family, our church, can also be in one mind, one heart, one understanding.
Amen. That's a big problem.
So, Father,
Amen.
I just thank you for all these moments that we have to grow in. And the next time we go through an insult, or maybe the different reflections that we may feel that we're not getting respect, maybe, Father, you can work into our lives to look at some of the fears and insecurities and some of the maybe injuries that we have inhabited inside. And Lord, it may take a long time to heal, but it has to start somewhere. And so, Father, I pray that you continue to start us somewhere in each and every one of us. As each and one of us at this Zoom call have some type of injury, whether we caused it, or we have hid it, or we end up being a recipient of it. So, Father, we pray for that type of healing. Pray for the same thing for Michael, as he's going through his healing too, from different people, as well as other people he may have inadvertently hurt. So, Father, open his eyes so that he can be the type of servant and son that you want him to be. Father, we pray that on the throne, that we die so that you can live. We cannot sit on the same throne with you. So one of us has to leave. So, Father, we pray that we walk away so that you can actually take control of our lives on a day-to-day basis. Father, give us a good rest tonight. Don't let us just close these notes and close some of the ideas and see him again in 2 weeks. But rather, help us to kind of practice these and remind us, although many times we will forget. But Lord, we ask that your Holy Spirit will guide us in that area to convict our minds and our hearts, to carve these things into our soul, to carve the scriptures that we read inside, to quote them, to go through it, to remember, and at the same time to refresh it by teaching it to others. So, Father, refresh our mind this evening. Help us to recollect and think back and filter and weigh these things carefully so that we may understand. So that tomorrow when we wake up, which is a blessing, and you will also give us different challenges that we can be able to meet. Give us the courage in that area and the transparency. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right.
Amen.
Thank you, Michael.
Ooh.
Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
Thank you for the
Thanks,
prayer.
Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Good night,
Okay.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Let's
night,
walk
everybody.
away. Let's seek the truth and live the life.
Amen.